Right, welcome everybody once again to Practicing the Pause with Phil. I am Philip Boyce, a peer support specialist at the R3 Recovery Center here in Wilkes. So I'm glad that you can tune in today and you're mindful of your own wellness and want to look after your own wellness and self-care. And so, you might have heard me say that word before, mindfulness. Mindfulness, that's something that we look at here with Practicing the Pause, something that we want to look at. And mindfulness is simply just this basic human ability of being fully present. Being fully present. That's what we want to do here with this time that we have, is to be mindful, to be present, to be here in the now. And we do that by discussing mindfulness and looking at other different wellness tools we can practice. And so I said mindfulness is this basic human ability to be fully present. There's so many times we can just have so much going on. We're constantly in a hurry, we're constantly busy, we're stressed out, we've got so much things going on. And so it's good just to set aside a time to be able to pause. And that's why, this course here is entitled Practicing the Pause, because I think it's very much needed for us to slow down, and to look after our own wellness and self-care. And being mindful helps us to do that by being fully present, aware of where we are and what we're doing, and not overly reactive or overwhelmed by what's going on around us. There's so much going on around us. I think that's part of what is really hurting many folks today is that there is just so much going on. We can be bombarded by the news and everything else that's going on around us. And so it's good not to be weighed down by, some of the things that is happening all around us. And so by being mindful, it helps us to slow down. It helps us to be fully present. And so that's what we do at this time, as we are intentional. We're intentional with taking this time and practicing the pause. And we do that by being mindful. And mindfulness is just this basic human ability to be fully present, being aware of where we are and what we're doing, and not overly reactive or overwhelmed by what's going on around us. And, you can do these, practice mindfulness just as daily tasks. I was cleaning up around the house, and I noticed that my mind was wandering. And so I wasn't really focused on what I was doing. Perhaps you've been there before. You've been doing something and your mind was elsewhere, and then you have an accident, right? Maybe you're cutting up some food. Next thing you know, you've cut your finger. Why? Because you weren't fully present of what you're doing. Your mind was elsewhere. And so mindfulness really helps us to be present, to be engaged with what we're doing. Really, it's somewhat like just full concentration. We're giving our all to where we're at. We're fully present. And so it's not all about being in your head. Us folks there in recovery, we know that's normally not a good place for us to be. If we're all up in our head, we need to be outside of our head. We need to be not just stuck in isolation and kind of glued and tied down to our thoughts. We need to be doing something, and service helps us to do that. It helps us to get out of our head. Same thing with isolation. Too much isolation really isn't good. And so mindfulness can help us to be more in tune with what we're feeling, can help us with our thoughts, can help us with being more intentional and aware of the things that we do each day. And so, nearly everything that we do in a day, these simple tasks that we do, whether it be brushing our teeth or eating lunch or talking with friends or exercising, all of these tasks that we perform in a day can be done more mindfully. And mindfulness is important because when we are mindful of our actions, when we pay more attention to what we're doing, it can be beneficial. It can really benefit us. Some of these reasons I have here. What's good with meditation? Why it's good is that there's 7 things that I found that mindful people do differently. One thing is mindful people approach everyday things with curiosity and they savor them. Another thing that mindful people do differently is they forgive their mistakes, big or small. Another thing that mindful people do differently is that they show gratitude for good moments and grace for bad ones. Something else mindful people do is that they practice compassion and nurture connections. They also make peace with imperfection inside and out. They embrace vulnerability by trusting others and themselves. And they accept and appreciate that things come and go. Those are 7 things that mindful people do differently. I think those are all good things to have and to grow. And so when we are mindful of our actions, when we pay more attention to what we're doing, it has its benefits. It's the opposite of just going through the motions. Instead, you're tuned into your senses, noticing your thoughts and emotions. And so by building mindfulness into your daily life, you can practice mindfulness even when you're too busy to meditate. We do that just by being aware of our surroundings, being aware of what we're doing at that moment, being fully present. And so one of the things that we do with practicing the pause with mindfulness is what we call a mindful meditation. I invite you now to join in to participate. And to do that, I invite you to find a quiet place, free from distraction. So if you can, just take a minute right now to go ahead and limit any distractions that might come up, whether it's TV or telephone or any interruptions that might distract you here from being fully present and engaging here now with this mindful meditation. So I invite you to create that quiet place, create that quiet environment. I've said it before that a good and relaxing environment is key, so we can create that environment. It's key for us to be able to do this and to practice this in the way that it should be practiced. There was a thunderstorm that came up a couple days ago, and I was able to sit on my porch and really quiet myself down to practice these things. And I'll tell you, when we can really focus in and tune in and practice these mindful principles, it really is beneficial to our health and even how we carry out the rest of the week just by doing these simple things. And so I invite you now to create that environment that can be free of distractions and quiet, a place where you can go to. And I invite you to sit up tall in that quiet place where you're free from distractions and to breathe. We begin with this breathing exercise where we calm ourselves down, we slow down, and we're mindful of our breath. And so I invite you to do that now, if you will. Breathe with me. Let's take a nice, slow, deep in breath together. And then release the out breath. As you release, you might feel some heaviness of the breath. Maybe that's something that you just carrying around. You're carrying around some stress. You're carrying around maybe some of these deadlines, some things that you felt like you're needing to do. Maybe some stress about maybe the way you're feeling about yourself, about maybe not doing a good enough job. You've got some of these thoughts going on in your mind that you're just not measuring up. And so you just release that out now with the out breath. And then with your in breath, let's think of some positive things there with the in breath. That everything's okay. Right now, you're doing the best for yourself. You're practicing self-care and well-being. You're learning about mindfulness. The in breath, like that everything is okay right now, here in this moment. Nothing needs to be tended to. Everything's okay. Right now, you're doing what's important for you. You're looking after your own self-care and well-being. You're doing what's best for you right here, right now, in this moment. Breathe that in with the in breath. I'm okay. I'm loved. I'm cared for. You know, those good mantras there that we've been learning are good to say there with the in breath. Maybe you've got some favorite mantras there. You can come up with your own personal mantras. So you say that there with the in breath. And then with the out breath, release. Release any of that tension, that stress, that worry. Just let it go. Let it go. Breathe slowly and evenly in and out through your nose. Let your energy settle by anchoring your attention to your breath. Right now, we just want to practice the pause. We want to slow down. We want to let our energy settle by anchoring our attention to the breath. It's good to soften your shoulders. You know, a lot of times we can carry that stress in our bodies. So if you want to do maybe a couple circular motions there as you breathe, nice, smooth, slow circular motions there with the shoulders forward and then backwards. We're just relaxing. We're letting go of some of that tension, that stress that we might be carrying around. Soften your shoulders and soften your belly and your thighs. Just relax. Relax and watch the breath with a sense of loving awe. Like I said, it's good to say some of those mantras as we're breathing in, some of those self-affirmations. I'm loved. I'm okay. Everything is well right now. I'm doing the best that I can. I'm doing what's best for me right now. I'm practicing some self-love, some self-kindness. I'm breathing in. I'm aware of my breath, breathing in, and then I'm breathing out. Aware of my breath, being mindful of my breath. I want you to feel the gentle rise as you breathe in. Feel the gentle rise and fall of the body as the body breathes itself. And let yourself drop into a state of being rather than doing. Just be. Just be. You know, there's a place like I like to get to and I'm continue to concentrate on my breath as I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out. If I can continually go back to my breath, there's a place where it feels like I'm dropping into that state of being, letting myself be. It's so good when we can get to that place. It's this place of peace and serenity, a place where we can have some intuition. You know, maybe you've had questions about maybe the next thing you should do and your next steps to take there in life. And with meditation, if we continue to practice this, for me, I found that I can get some clarity. I can get some clearness of the mind just by setting aside this time and continuing to practice these tools, this meditation, this breathing exercise. And so I really feel like when I get to that place, I'm dropping into a state of being. That's what it feels like. I'm just dropping into this state of being rather than doing. And I'm okay right here, right now. I'm here in the present, just with the breath. And so be mindful of the breath. Keep going back to your breath. Keep going back to the breath. You might feel like your mind is wandering. That's okay. That's natural. Just when you catch yourself there, drifting off, that's what it feels like. You're just drifting off. Just come back to your breath, to the in breath. Slowly breathing in, and then release there with the out breath. Right here, right now, we're being present. We're mindful of the breath. As you watch the breath, of course, your thoughts will still arise. Your mind is doing what the mind does. It's energy. It's always at play. And so today, as you notice those thoughts, just watch them. Watch them as from a distance, like you're watching some dead leaves float down the stream. You're just merely observing those thoughts. You're watching them go by. You're not your thoughts, but just a witness to those thoughts. It can also help to visualize your thoughts as if they're clouds or bubbles. A thought arises, it floats up and into our awareness. And then if it's left alone, it will also float on by, dissipate, or burst. I invite you to stay anchored to your breath. Go back to your breath. You catch your mind wandering, just simply return back to breathing. You're aware of the in-breath as you breathe in, and then the out-breath as you breathe out. Stay anchored to your breath as you play with awareness of this process. Present with the breath. Be aware of thought clouds as these thought arises. Be aware of these thought clouds and thought bubbles as they arise. Like clouds, like bubbles, understand that these thoughts are not solid. They're not fixed. They take shape and they break apart. They're continuously changing shape, blown by the wind. They come and they go. We cannot grasp at a cloud or a bubble, and neither is there any point in grasping to these thoughts. So just let them be. Remain aware of the breath. Continue to breathe. Breathe in, breathe out as the thoughts do their thing. Breathe in. It's helpful maybe to have that mantra. You just go back to that mantra. I am loved. I am okay. I am well here in the present. You say those mantras might help you to keep returning to your breath. Be aware of your breath and let the thoughts just simply do their thing. Avoid chasing them. Avoid following or attaching to them any thought. Avoid chasing, following, or attaching to thought. Avoid trying to stop thoughts or push them away. Just let them be. As they come and go, just let them be and remain aware of the breath. Be aware of the state of being and not doing. Aware of thoughts and not thinking. Just breathe in, breathe out. Practice lovingly allowing your thoughts to shift, to change and flow. Nothing to fight against, nothing to stop. Just love your thoughts. At the same time, let them go. Remain present right here and right now with your breath. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Remember that you're not your thoughts, but just their witness. Look upon each thought with curiosity or awe, but again and again, come back to your breath. Anchor back to the breath. Breathe awareness, present with breath. Just remember that your mind is energy. It's always at play, but it's up to you to choose the type of energy you'd like to invite in. And then just simply let the rest go. Breathe in, breathe out. Identifying with the energy of stability, even breath, steadiness, peacefulness, and ease. I hope that's helped you some to relax. It's important to relax. There's an example of using mindfulness. This guy named Kevin, he felt bad. He had this constant feeling of feeling bad. He knew he needed to make some adjustments, some changes in life, this need for change. And so he stepped back and he took an overview of his life in all of its aspects and dimensions. He started to introspect, this process of introspection. He wondered where he should start. He realized he was undertaking a journey. He knew he needed to, in one instance, that one thing that he needed to do was to lose weight. He wanted to lose weight, but Kevin knew that this journey was not just about losing weight. You see, he saw this psychological, there was a lot of physiological and psychological challenge that he needed to overcome, reeling in his own personal anxiety. You see, he suffered with anxiety and mood swings, and ultimately he wanted to become a better person. And that's what wellness is. That's what we talk about here with practicing the pause, is wellness. And part of wellness is that it's becoming a better person. It's looking at some of these changes that we want to pursue. You know, Kevin, he realized that it wasn't just about physical manifestations like exercise and nutrition. Kevin knew that he clearly needed to strengthen the emotional and mental parts of himself as well, the psychological parts. Now, how many know that the mind can play an important role when we're trying to accomplish a task such as losing weight, by undertaking exercise, by changing eating habits? You know, our mind tells us that we can't. Oh, you can't do that. Oh, you'll never succeed. Oh, you can't win. You know, why even start? Why even begin? That's something that our mind can tell us sometimes. You see, it's not just about the physical component, but also the mental and emotional as well. That's why we take this holistic approach and improve all aspects of our being. This is a theory or a framework that will guide the implementation of self-improvement. Self-improvement. You know, Kevin found it. He found it when he was researching some of the things that we talk about here, like the 8 dimensions of wellness. 8 dimensions of wellness we look at is on the wellness wheel we've looked at from time to time here. And so Kevin, one step at a time, he began to look at each of these aspects, each of these dimensions of his life. And he spent some time drawing his own wellness wheel. Kevin tried to set SMART goals. SMART goals are ones that are specific. Specific goals, they're measurable, they're attainable, they're realistic and timely. Kevin set these goals for each of these dimensions that we look at here with practicing the pause with Phil. Some of these dimensions, Kevin admitted, are harder than others. He ended up with a mix of goals and guidelines. And we look at these dimensions. One can be occupational. That's one of the dimensions. Kevin wanted to complete his PhD by a certain date, and he set that date down. He wanted to read widely and research. He wanted to continue to network. That was part of his occupational dimension goals. He went through all the rest of them: intellectual dimension, the spiritual dimension, the physical dimension, the emotional dimension, the social dimension, the environmental dimension, and the financial dimension. And it's good to do. It's good to take a look at each of these dimensions and to set goals for each one of them. And that's some of the things that we look at here with practicing the pause, as we look at these dimensions and see what they mean, and how we can apply some goals in our lives for each of these dimensions. And so Kevin, then after he did that, he had this holistic framework for self-improvement. He printed it and posted it on his desk, and now Kevin's head feels more organized, and he feels more confident that he can implement the changes that he wants to see in his life. And so wellness is a journey. We've been looking at that it is a journey. Wellness is a journey that we pursue. something we do, throughout our life. We pursue this wellness. Once we find out about wellness, we can look at it and begin to pursue it. We begin to get in the right direction. And that's what recovery has really done for me. It's helped me to change a lot of things in my life that needed changing. And so this practicing the pause, we do this every Wednesday. We take a look at some of these things, and we do that from 2 to 3 every Wednesday, what we like to call Wellness Wednesday. And I hope that you tune in and you continue to look at your own wellness and find out a little bit more about what that entails. But it is a journey. We've got the saying in recovery, that's progress, not perfection. And so, that's a good question for us all to ask ourselves is, what are we doing for our recovery? Same thing with wellness. What are we doing for our wellness today? What am I doing today? I can't live on yesterday's wellness. I've got to continue and discover what I'm doing today for my wellness and ask that question. Bob Dylan had this quote that says, "He not busy being born is busy dying." And so I kind of look at that by seeing that each day is a new day. It's a day that I haven't experienced. It's something that I can explore today. Is being alive, being fully alive, being present, being born, and I need to be busy doing that. Busy being born. Get involved, to learn new things, to make this journey toward wellness. What's your thoughts on that? We looked at this last week, and maybe if you have new thoughts, maybe you've gave this some thought since last week. And if you have some thoughts about, how about putting it there in the comment section? What's your thoughts on that quote? He not busy born is busy dying. He not busy being born is busy dying. See that wellness is not a static state. You just don't get well or stay well. It takes effort. Wellness is not simply the absence of disease. We looked at this in the past. And I was giving some thought before, I was going to cover some of this material today. And, some of the things that we learned and we talked about last time was that unmet needs, and I want us to get that this week, is unmet needs are fueling unhealthy behaviors or lifestyle that we have. Our unmet needs are fueling unhealthy behaviors and lifestyle. That it can take work and effort to dig down deep and discover what our true needs are. What are some of our true needs? We talked about this last week. We have the need for recognition from others. The need for recognition from others. That's one of our true needs. What does it mean by needing recognition from others? I think we all have this need to be seen. To be seen, that we are here, that we can be a valuable resource to others, to our community, to be seen and to be heard, that we have a voice, that we have thoughts and opinions that matter. We have this need for recognition from others, to be seen, to be heard, to belong, to have this worth, this self-worth. We have a need for recognition from others. We are part of the human race. We are part of our community. We're part of our family. We have this need to be recognized from others, this need for recognition from others. What's your thoughts about that? If you will, go ahead and comment there in the comment section. Is that a need that you're aware of? This recognition from others, to be seen and heard, to feel a sense of belonging and worth, that you are a resource, you're valuable. You're valuable. What's your thoughts on that, about that need? Has that a need that's been neglected in your life? Recognition from others, to be seen and heard. Finding a place of belonging and finding your worth. Another need that we have is a stimulating environment A stimulating environment. What does that mean? A stimulating environment. I've discovered through, reading and research that, we have introverts, what's called introverts and extroverts, and uh, extroverts do really well and thrive, with like big crowds and, a lot of excitement, a lot of stimulation going on. Introverts, too much stimulation can be overwhelming. And so introverts really pull back, right? Once they've had enough stimulation, maybe they found more stimulation like in reading a book or something like that, where there's not a big crowd and big groups going around. And so we need to understand what our stimulation is. Maybe you're extroverts, maybe you're introvert, maybe you're somewhere there in the middle. But it's good to find a stimulating environment. What is your stimulating environment where you feel challenged, right? But you're growing. It's a good challenge where you're experiencing growth and you're interested. Some of the things that interest you. Have you found a stimulating environment? You know, uh, I've heard of people in school where you might have been like this too, where it's not a stimulating environment. And so your mind wanders, you just kind of drift off. People think that you're not concentrating, but you're just not interested. You're not being stimulated in the way that you need to be stimulated. And so maybe it's a different way to learn, right? Some people can learn a lot better with hands-on instead of sitting in the classroom with other students and the teacher up front, that there's other ways to find stimulation, a stimulating environment. What's some of your thoughts on that? Is that something that's been missing in your life? A stimulating environment? Do you feel like you're not being stimulated, that you're not challenged? Maybe you don't have an opportunity to really explore some of your interests and talents in the way that that would really help create that stimulating environment. What's some of your thoughts on that? If you can, comment there in the comment section. That's one way that we can, have this conversation now. Is that a need that's been missing in your life, a stimulating environment? There's another need that we have that it takes effort to discover. This true need. It's caring and affection from friends. Caring and affection from friends. Would you say that you have caring and affection from your friends? That you have that support around you? And that you know that you are cared for and that you feel this mutual affection? That you feel loved? Is that something that you have in your life now? Is that something that's been neglected in the past? Maybe you were challenged with creating those relationships. Maybe some of those relationships were strained. A lot of us in recovery, we've had our challenges with relationships, and a lot of times we still do. There's some things that creates work and takes effort, is to create this and to have this. It goes both ways. It's a two-way street, right? This relationships of, caring and affection, showing we care and having that affection. Is that something that you feel has been neglected in the past? That true need of caring and affection, that feeling loved. That's what we need. It's a true need that we have. Another true need that we have is a sense of purpose. A sense of purpose. We have direction and we have goals that we set for our life. That's a true need that we have, a sense of purpose that gives us meaning, a direction, and that we have goals that we set and that we can achieve. Is that something that you felt was neglected, that you've neglected, that true need, having a sense of purpose? Another true need, the last one, is the self-acceptance there. Self-acceptance. It's a true need that we have to accept ourselves for who we are. Who we are. Right here, right now in the present. That you can accept yourself for where you are, who you are. Self-acceptance. Is that something that you neglected in the past? self-acceptance. You didn't like yourself. You felt like you weren't worthy, that you couldn't measure up, that you were always failing. Is that something that you struggled with there in the past? These are some of our true needs. Some of our true needs. And when these aren't met, these unmet needs, when these aren't met, they're fueling unhealthy behaviors and lifestyle. You know, it's been shown there that our emotional states, whether it's boredom, so, you know, boredom can be one of those things, right? With not having that stimulating environment, the boredom we can be in that emotional state. There's different emotional states that we can be in. Boredom is one of them. Depression is another. Anxiety is another emotional state. And it's been shown that these emotional states often set the stage of physical disease. Our emotional states can set the stage for physical disease through the lowering of our body's resistance. And when our emotional states aren't what they should be, it lowers the body's resistance. And you know that these same feelings, these emotional states, can lead to abuses. We can actually do more harm because we're not in the right state. We're not feeling right. Our emotional states aren't where they should be. These feelings, these emotional states can lead to abuses. We actually do harm to ourselves. Like smoking or excessive alcohol or drug use and overeating. The way we feel, we're looking for a way to change the way we feel. We're looking to address those deep underlying needs in ways that are not successful. We're not really dealing with the root causes. And so these emotional states, you can picture it like an iceberg, right? So the emotional states are at the tip of the iceberg, and then our true needs are below it. They're under the water. They're under the surface. The stuff that you really don't see. You see these emotional states, and you see these abuses that they can lead to, like smoking and excessive alcohol and drug use and overeating. You can see those. Those are merely symptoms. Those are symptoms and behavior that represent only the tip of the iceberg. Again, the emotional states are that tip of the iceberg. They are the surface indicators of the underlying human needs. Those are underlying human needs that we looked at. Those recognition from others, a stimulating environment, a caring and affection from friends, a sense of purpose and self-acceptance. And so again, I want us to get this, that our unmet needs, that stuff that's below the water, that iceberg, that stuff that you can't see, those unmet needs are fueling unhealthy behaviors and lifestyle. Why? Because if those unmet needs aren't met, then we have these emotional states like boredom and depression and anxiety, and those things can lead to abuses and harms, right? It fuels the unhealthy behaviors and lifestyle. So again, unmet needs are fueling unhealthy behaviors and lifestyle. And so you see these diseases that come up through the lowering of the body's resistance. These diseases and symptoms, like these emotional states, are not really the problem. They are actually the mind, body, spirit attempt to solve a problem. They are a message from the subconscious to the conscious. And so, I want us to keep on with that thought there, that these needs need to be met. Many people who may lack obvious physical symptoms of illness are in fact bored, depressed, tense, anxious, or generally unhappy with their lives. These emotional states often lead to physical disease through the lowering of the body's resistance. The same feelings can also lead to abuse of the body through smoking, drinking, and overeating. Usually these behaviors are substitutes for other more basic human needs, such as recognition from others, a stimulating environment, caring and affection from friends, and growth towards a higher degree of self-awareness. And so we see here with wellness that wellness extends the definition of health. to encompass a process of integration characterized by awareness, education, and growth. And so we see here with this illness wellness continuum that we want to move towards a high level wellness. Awareness, education, and growth helps us to do that. Here we're looking at those things today. We're learning about our emotional states, different emotional states like boredom, depression, anxiety, and generally unhappiness with life often set the stage for physical disease through the lowering of the body's resistance. And these same feelings can lead to abuses like smoking, excessive alcohol, or drug use, and overeating. So again, unmet needs are fueling unhealthy behaviors and lifestyle. All right, let me look here at the PowerPoint, make sure I'm covering some of these things that need to be covered. Let's see, for slide number 6 here, where we left off last time. You might have seen this before. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Some of you might be familiar with this. If you look at the very bottom there, you see physiological needs. Those are things that we need that are grouped into the basic needs. Those are things like food, water, warmth, rest. And up above that, you see safety needs like security, safety. Housing is grouped into that as well. And so these basic needs need to be met before addressing some of these other ones. See, as you move up the pyramid, you see psychological needs there with belongingness and love needs. We were talking about some of those true needs that need to be met. Belongingness and love needs. We were talking about that with our friends, feeling this caring and affection from friends. We saw that. That's in the psychological needs, intimate relationships and friends. Having that support is a true need there. You see this with needs. This is deficiency needs and being needs in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, this pyramid. As you move up, see esteem needs there. This prestige and feeling of accomplishment. That can be, also what we were talking about with recognition from others, being seen and heard, right? The sense of belonging and worth. These esteem needs, these are true needs that we have that needs to be addressed. Then as you move up the pyramid there, the very top is this self-fulfillment needs. It's called self-actualization. It's achieving one's full potential and including creative activities. Apologize if you might hear some of this. We've got some thunder and lightning going on. And so, I hope that everything's going to be okay. I can continue on here. But you might have seen this pyramid before. Do you see that each of these needs, as you progress, you move up the pyramid, each of these needs are important, need to be met. And so when we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs through the wellness lens, we see some very familiar terms. Each of his levels of needs correlates with principles most wellness theorists value also. So we see here at the very top, these are deficiency needs and being needs. And Maslow held that part of being a living organism was that our deficiency needs took precedent in our motivation for behavior. That's why we do what we do. So you think about, when you woke up this morning, maybe you got that cup of coffee, right? You needed to wake up. Part of that was sleep. That's a deficiency need that we have. We go to sleep because we're tired. We need rest. You see that down there at the very bottom. Basic needs, physiological needs, right? Maybe you got some breakfast. That's another need that you're meeting there. And so we're motivated to meet these needs. That's the reason why we do the things that we do. It's motivation for behavior. Deficiency needs are what we lack. Physiological needs, safety needs, social needs, esteem needs. These deficiency needs comes first in our motivation for behavior, why we do what we do. And so for survival, if you think about survival, building from a physiological base, there at the very bottom, we have to survive. And breathing and eating and drinking always come first. And so you might be one of those survivalists out there, and maybe you've gone camping, and some of the first things that we do is we look for a water source, and we create that shelter, and we make sure we have food. And so when these deficiency needs, whether it's physiological or safety or social or STEAM needs, when these deficiency needs are not met, we do not function well. It's important there. When these deficiency needs are not met, we do not function well, and we eventually become ill or die. We eventually become ill or die. There's this thing I want to share with you before we end here with the rat part. Here's another slide here that shows the different terms. Right, so physiological needs is grouped with nutrition, movement and breathing, safety needs is with community, family, and self-sufficiency. Belonging needs is matched with inclusion, community, peer health norms, and spiritual. STEAM needs is adequate self-esteem. Self-actualization is high-level wellness. And we'll look at more of these too as we move forward. I thought maybe I had a source on the rat part. We'll look at that next time as we continue to look at some of these things. We got some thunder and lightning in the background, and I feel like it's be good to end here. I feel better at just ending it here, and we'll look at some of these things next time. So I hope that you all have a good rest of your Wellness Wednesday, and hope to see you next time. Take care. Be well.